Hey everyone, so I've added some new things onto my Mercier page. You all know from time to time I make this intro because people ask me about my Mercier from time to time. So you know I decluttered my closet. So of course I have a few clothing pieces on there. I have makeup, of course. I have some of Adrian's older clothes from when he was in grammar school that he never wore. So they're newer tags, including a pair of Jordans that he never wore for anyone interested. I'll be adding some skincare, some body care, and I'll be decluttering my fragrances and going through some more to find some of those. So if you're interested, make sure you check out my Mercier after this video is over for all who's interested. But on to today's video. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's about time we go through these eyeshadow palettes and see if we can get rid of some. Because this looks a bit excessive. Don't you think? Let's get into it, girl. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's probably about time we get rid of some eyeshadow because this is a bit excessive. Okay, y'all, it's time for another episode of my eyeshadow palette collection series. So we're on the third set of palettes now. I hope this isn't too long. I feel like it's gonna be long though because I have a lot to get through. So let me start off with I do have some palettes from brands I no longer buy from, but I obviously have already bought them, so I didn't get rid of them. But you shouldn't see any more from these brands because I don't buy from these brands. Just get that out of the way. So I did buy these two LH Cosmetics palettes prior to some information I got in the future, which is why I stopped buying from the brand. But this is the Enchanted Secrets palette. I know a lot of people really liked this. I found out about this from, I think it was Angelica Nikovic and Lauren May Beauty. She's also known as Lauren May Fragrance because she has two different channels. But this is what both of them look like. Both of them, Jesus. These are what the shades look like. So I like how shimmery and sparkly and shifted these are. These are really nice. They kind of give me vibes of the special shades from Pat McGrath, and you know those really sparkly iridescent shades that other brands have. But I like that one. This is the Enchanted Mysteries. I had one more, but I think I gave it away or sold it or something. I don't remember, but I liked the color story of this one. As you can see, this one has more like metallic sparkly ones and then like the more iridescent shimmery ones, which I wasn't as crazy about these two on the bottom, but the two on the top are really the stars of the show for me. But I feel like you can just layer each one of these on top of those and get a little extra oomph and pizzazz. So I'll hold on to them because I do like the quality of them. It's just I don't buy from the brand anymore. But I figured I shouldn't have to declutter them when she already got my money anyway, you know. And I don't think I even bought those from her website. If I remember correctly, I bought those on Mercier. So, Anyway, on to the next. So we have the Sugar and Spice palette from Glamour-Natrix Cosmetics. They have different size palettes, so don't be surprised if you see them pop up later. But these are, I went by drawing how I had them sized in, so this is the drawer they were in. So this is what I went with. Anyway, I have redone this palette. You all saw a look with it. If you follow me on Lemonade, you saw the look I redid. Or if you just saw my Instagram, then you saw the look I redid. The brand did like it, even though I added some other shades in here. So I added a couple of ColourPop shades in here. Like, if I remember correctly, this one's ColourPop. I think this purple right here is ColourPop. And I think the matte shade is ColourPop. But otherwise, I mean this mint shade. Otherwise, I think the rest of these shades were already in here. Do not quote me, though, because I feel like one might have came from another brand as well. I can't think of the name right now, but I like the way it turned out. And I like the look I came up with. I think it's a nice, unique color story. I don't remember seeing any other palettes made like this, but who knows? I have so many. I might have some, and it was just like subconsciously I made it. But I like it. Next, we have Rich Romantic. I haven't bought the last, I think, couple of palettes they came out with, but they came out with 6 pans that were monochromatic, and I'm not really with the monochromatic right now, so that's why I held off on it. But here is what it looks like on the inside. I think I only took one shade out of here to change it out. I think I added this shade, if I remember correctly, and the rest of the shades were fine, or it was a glitter I took out. I know it's at least one shade I took out of this palette, though, to make it more my speed, and I feel like I added this one and took something else out. But again, I like the way it looks, and I like the way it turned out, so I'm glad I made that decision. Okay, next we have these Pat McGrath palettes. So I have 3 of like the older ones before she started changing them like this, and then I have 2 of the newer ones here. I do have more from this brand, but they're at my grandmother's house, so you should see them there. This is the La Vie en Rose. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is probably like my favorite color story, and it has a nice extension to, turn it this way. It has a nice extension for the Mothership 3 palette, because that's what this is supposed to be an extension of. She made miniatures of her first 3 Mothership's palettes, and this was the third one. I thought this was a perfect extension for that palette. She did a great color story, kind of like the mini trio chrome from Natasha Denona, how she gave us the blues in there, because she did the greens and the purples in the original palette and gave some neutral tones, and then gave you a separate blue one. I'd rather she had just made trio chrome, blue, green, and purple like the packaging, but I understand why she didn't, because some people would have felt like it wasn't worth the money because they wouldn't have been able to use it for every day, just special occasions. So I get it, but I don't like it. Next, I have Bronze Temptation here. This was one of the holiday releases. I only bought these two. I didn't buy the third one. As you can see, this doesn't go all the way down the way the other one does, unfortunately, and it's hard because there's this glare, but it's a nice simple color story. Like, I feel like this could be a good alternative to some of the holiday palettes that came out now, like the Give Me Glow one that they re-released with Christmas morning, whatever. To me, it gives some similar vibes of that. Just don't be fooled. This is not red. It's more like a bronzy orangish red instead of just a true red, which disappointed me a little bit when I first got this, but I still like it. I still think it's great. So I'm thinking about doing a video on my classic holiday palettes. I never let them go because I do limited edition palettes. I'm never letting go. So I was thinking about doing a holiday one for that and maybe doing like a 12 days of Christmas vlog thing. Not necessarily, you know, completely vlogmas thing because I'm kind of late for that. Next, we have the Dark Star palette. There it is. I'm mad that she put these two bronze shades in it because I feel like a silver was needed in this palette, especially with the gray. So I wish she had just did the champagne and made that a silver. I thought that would have been so much better. But again, I guess I understand why she did it that way, because she has a thing for gold. Why, I don't know. Because silver would have been perfect and the chef's kiss to this, because you'd have had a dark shade, you'd have had a silver, and then you'd still had a champagne-y, goldy shade for people who like that sort of tone, and a fun blue, because I just love silver, blue, and black when it comes to like a good smoky eye. So I feel like it could have been used throughout the normal time of the year with a smoky eye. Anyway, on to these two. So we have the Bridgerton, the Diamond of the First Water, and then the Bridgerton, the Belle of the Ball, and it's spelled like, you know, Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I've never watched Bridgerton, so I don't know what that's referring to. I'm assuming that's one of the characters' names, and that's why, but I like the color story of this palette a lot. Of course, we know my eyes are immediately drawn to this blue sparkly shade. And then you have a lot of these mauve-ish berry tone shades, which are my tone and color of shades. So I was definitely feeling this. I was sad, though, once she started doing a lot of, like, the pink shades. Because I'm like, I'm not really into a lot of the pink. So I'm kind of just like, let's open up Belle of the Ball now. Here's what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Again, it kind of gives more of that same thing, except they added two fun pops of color this time, because I feel like that's a unique gold for her. She usually pick like a trophy wife type gold, and then there's like this mint colored shade. But as you can see, a lot of these look similar. Like, you still got those two berry shades, you still got that champagne-y type shade, and you still got one of these coppery goldish bronzy type shades. So I felt like it was just like, oh, we're gonna add these two different ones and that'll be it. So I was not too impressed with that, and it had nothing to do necessarily with quality. It just had to do with the constant repetition of the color story. So that was my issue. Let me pause and then we can get into these other ones, because there's quite a few Adept ones in this drawer and quite a few Hudas. Okay, we'll start off with the first big Huda Beauty palette I bought. This is the new nude palette, and I talked so much crap about this palette because I thought it was just gonna be one of those, you know, boring brown palettes that they always come out with and not be exciting or fun. And then I saw this, I was like, oh, I can get down with Huda. Now, yes, I know mine looks brand new. That's because it is. I bought a backup of this palette because mine was kind of old, and you know she does 40% off sometimes on palettes, so it went 40% off, and then I got a new one. As you can see, I swatched a couple of shades. I have not really used it as of yet, but I do love this story. I wish these were like actual shimmers though, and not pressed glitters. I'm glad she stopped putting pressed glitters in palettes. I do not like though that she has these concealer shades, or that she has those weird like bubbly shades. I'm glad she got out of like doing that. I feel like she was trying different finishes and trying to be unique the way, you know, like Natasha did the cream and mattes or whatever, but it just fell short for me. Next, we have the Mercury Retrograde. I do have some other big Huda Beauty palettes, but I try to leave some in my grandmother's house so that we can have stuff to compare to. This is when she finally started putting her eyes in it, I think, or maybe I just threw it away. I don't remember. But this is Mercury Retrograde. I know a lot of people love this palette. I thought it was okay. I was never really crazy about it. You thought I would be, because it's a more colorful one for her, but I don't know. It just never really did it for me. It was always just okay and felt kind of flat. I wasn't in love. I wasn't obsessed. I was just like, oh, okay, that's cute. But I keep it around because you can't get it anymore, and I do review a lot of Huda palettes, and plus she's not supposed to be making them anymore. That's another reason I kind of just went ahead and, you know, kept it too. Next, one of my all-time favorites, Rose Quartz. I think I might like this one better than New Nude, and New Nude was like top for me for a while, but I feel like if you know me, then you're not surprised as to why Rose Quartz outbeat it. It just has more of that purpley feel, and I am a purple palette connoisseur. See, these shades I'm talking about right here, like the ones with the weird little like glitter on them or whatever, or in the jelly with the pearls. I don't like those, so I'm not a huge fan of that. But I wasn't going to do like the late great Mel Thompson did and like scoop it out and then like press another shadow in there. Like I didn't dislike it that much, especially because of the amount of palettes I have and, you know, don't get to go through as much as I would like. Next, we have the Empowered palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. And to me, this is just a good alternative for people who did not want to buy from Natasha Denona. You can get the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. It looks really similar to the, what is that palette called? The My Dream palette. It looks really similar to the MIDI My Dream palette from Natasha Denona. So if you didn't like that and you want a little bit warmer version of that, because although I feel like they're pretty damn spot on, you will have this cream shade in here though, so just keep that in mind, and this weird jelly S type shade that I keep talking about I don't like her putting in here. But if you don't mind that, then I feel like you might be fine with this palette as opposed to the one from Natasha. Next we have the Pretty Grunge. Again, I love me a cool tone moment, so I was excited about Pretty Grunge. As you can see, it's just a nice neutrally cool tone with a little bit of like neutrals for someone who's interested in that sort of thing. To me, I just look at this more smoky eye palette. Like this to me is a toned down version of the Xenon palette from Natasha Denona, because I feel like the Natasha Denona Xenon palette is just all, you know, like black, gray, and silver and all that. And if you don't necessarily want that, then I feel like you might like this one a little bit better, because it gives you a little bit more variety and a little more everyday wear, as opposed to that one just being strictly like a black smoky eye go-to palette for people. Which I still don't understand why she did all of it like that. I feel like it'd have been fun if she had incorporated some blue in it, but you know, to each his own. But those are two good alternatives. Matter of fact, let me put those aside. I might have a video idea. As usual, y'all coming up with video ideas as I do this. I already came up with 2. Let's see how many more I get. Next, we have the Icy Nude. This is this one that's supposed to be her last big palette like this. So this is what it looks like. Again, I feel like it just looks really some of the other stuff she's already come out with. Like, I feel like it's a more neutrally version of the Rose Quartz, because you all know that leans more mauve-ish and purpley. I feel like this leans more like, you know, traditional icy cool tone moment, but it gives me the same feel of that one. Like, if you don't like purples, this is like your neutral version of the Rose Quartz palette, if that makes any sense. So I got it because it's supposedly supposed to be the last one she comes out with. If y'all saw me right now, I was doing air quotes because I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. But let's move on to the next set of palettes, and then we can get on out of this drawer. And it only took me probably like 20 minutes. Not bad. So I figured we should start with the palette that started it all for me when it came to Adept Cosmetics. It is the Plain Jane palette. So this is what... I don't know why mine has a water stain on it. I guess I has a drink sitting on top of it or something. I don't know. Anyway, this is what it looks like. This is my original one. I do have the remastered one, and I think she got rid of the remastered one, or it might still be on her website. Do not quote me. I do have a code with Adept. It's Gelbeauty87. You can get a discount on whatever you want to buy. But, you know, I like the original one better because I like having the bigger pans. And I know that's crazy because, as you can see, I've hardly used this. That's not the point. When I don't like change. So it's like when you start off doing stuff a certain way and then you change it, I'm not going to be as huge a fan of it. I might, you know, like it, the formula and all that still, but I'm mad about the changes. But this is the original one before she changed some of the shades out. Okay, if y'all didn't know, Adept is one of my favorite brands. Next, we have the House of L. So this is supposed to be like a Superman-inspired palette, I'm told. I wasn't really a part of the, I think, isn't he a DC comic? I was always more of a, you know, Marvel's girls, or, you know, well, I mean, X-Men is DC, so I like them, but you know what I'm saying. Like, anyway, this is what it looks like on the inside. I love the color story of this. I feel like this would pair so nicely with the El Barrio palette from Terra Moon's Cosmetics. I feel like they do a great job with their palettes when they do make them, as a general rule. The last one they came out with I wasn't crazy about, but I do love this one, and I feel like this would pair nicely with that one. Or just any palette that you have with orange and green in it. So like I feel like this could pair nicely with Saga Freya from Utensai. I do have a drawer dedicated to Utensai. Like certain brands I just have a drawer dedicated to because I like so much, and this is one of them. So I really like this palette. I'm glad I have it. I think she brought it back one time, so hopefully you got it when she brought it back. Next we have Codain. Again, another one of my favorites. Again, it has the big pans in it before she started making them smaller. I like the uniqueness of the color story because like you get all these fun shimmers, and I feel like I would take the pink and then go across and make a look with this. And then you take this shade and go across and make a look with this right here. And then these could be either one inner corner shimmer shades for what you want to do, depending on what you want to do. Or you can just do a 2 shadow look, because it's like you can take one of these shimmers and then take one of these mattes and make an eye look. So I thought it was a unique thing. I know the owner is more on shimmers than she is on mattes, which, you know, it's fine, because people make all matte palettes too, so you can take an all shimmer palette, all matte palette, and make a look if that's what you need to do. Codaine is not available anymore though, so just keep that in mind. So the first 3 I showed you, there's only a remastered version of Plain Jane, and then Codaine and House of L are not in stock anymore. This is the Minka palette. It's what she looks like on the inside. I know everybody's probably looking for my what is it called? It's my favorite one from them, or one of my favorite ones from them before they started making like the bigger ones. It's crap, I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. It's the all purple one, but like I don't have it here right now because I'm supposed to be filming a video with it in my grandma's house, so that's where it is. But I love the Minka palette because it's I think this was supposed to be a sister of the palette I'm talking about. It's supposed to be an extension from what I remember the owner saying on Instagram. I really love this palette though. Like I love especially all the sparkly shades at the top because they look like really foiled and sparkly and really metallic, and I love stuff like that. I also love the shade Selena, if you can't tell, in the shade Luna. So I've used this palette a couple of times. I don't get to use stuff as much as I like, but this is definitely one of my favorites. I'm thinking about doing a top 10 favorite Adept palettes, but I feel like I did that earlier this year. It's just they came out with so much stuff more recently than they used to that, you know. Okay, I need to reorganize these a little bit. Okay, so I think this is like the first big one that they came out with. This is the Aero Inspired palette. It might just be called Inspired now. I've seen some people call it Inspired. I've seen some people call it Aero Inspired. I don't know. Anyway, this is what it looks like on the inside. Absolutely love it. She did re-release it once. I don't know if it's re-released again, but I hope you grabbed it while it was re-released. And use code Gelbeauty87, honey, because, man, this is one of my all-time favorites. Now, this is the one that knocked the other one I can't remember the name of off its back. I don't know why I want to say Nirvana, even though I feel like that's not the name of it, but this one did it for me. I love the color story of this. You know I love blue, green, and purple. What do you see? Blue, green, and purple. And then you get a whole bunch of green mattes to put with all these different tones. I thought that was so unique and such a cool take. I've never seen the show this was like inspired by, so I have no idea if it matches the vibes or not. Comment down below and tell me if this matches the vibes of Arrow or not. But, you know, I just love the color story of it. And I love the depth. So, I was going to support. Let's make sure she's okay. She's okay? Okay, she's fine. Because they don't make it anymore. So, I got to be careful. So, that's the thing with Adept. That's why I tell you all, when you see it, if you like it, buy it. Because it's like, you don't know when it's going to come out again. And I don't want to take that risk. You can take that risk. You will not make me take it. Next, we have one of my other favorite palettes, which is the Seahorse palette. I'm obsessed. I'm in love. I'm enraptured. Y'all know, this is like my go-to metallic-y, shimmery pastel palette. If I need a shimmer pastel palette, I am reaching for this. If I want a little extra oomph to an eye look and brighten it up a little bit, I'm reaching for this palette. This is my favorite palette. Now, this one is supposed to come back in 2025 from what I remember the owner posting on Instagram. I didn't reach out and ask her to be sure, although if she does change, because I think the color story is supposed to change around about it a little bit, and if it does, honey, I will be reaching, I will be snatching, I will be grabbing, I will be buying. I love it. 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 So, did I mention I love it? So, make sure you get your, I hope you got your hands on it when she brought it back before, like, the original one, because it's supposed to change. And it's just one of my go-to palettes. I actually did a collab with Lock Maiden with that palette. Y'all should go check it out. She has a really great channel on here, and I feel like she doesn't get as many views or followers as she should. So, I'm shouting out to make sure you know. So, you heard it from me. It's awesome. And she's awesome. So, go check her out. Next, we have the Flying Fiddles. I think this came out next. I feel like it came out next. That's what I'm going with. I'm trying to go based off my memory, which isn't always that great, but this is what it looks like. As y'all can see, it's more neutrally, and that's why I compared it to the one Angie just came out with, because as you can see, it gives a lot of the same kind of neutral tones. But shout out to Janet, who pointed out to me that it looks really similar to her palette with Kaleidos. The one she came out with, I think it's Club Nebula. It looks similar to that as well, because it does have those peaches in it that this does not have. This one is kind of more like a neutral everyday palette without the kind of a couple of bright colors that she had in hers. So if you wanted a more neutrally version of Angie's new palette, I recommend this. So if you already had this, then you didn't need to get it. This is one of the ones that I'm not as crazy about, just because, like I've been saying this whole time, I'm not really a neutrals girl, so it's not really for me. Next, we have the Cimmerian Sunset. Now, I was kind of surprised by liking this one so much because, as y'all can see, it's kind of giving like warm tone vibes. And if you know anything about me, I'm more of a cool tone girl, not a warm tone girl. So a lot of these warm tone shimmers in here I liked, but I wasn't necessarily crazy about the mattes at the bottom. But I actually came up with a few really nice eye looks that surprised me and made me like it more than I did. Again, I did do a whole video on this brand as far as my favorites or my collection, so you can check that out. Now, this is the one that they sent me in PR for Christmas last year. This is the Element 115 palette. I do have their newest one, but I think I have it in a box to do my eyeshadow palette comparison, so you have to stay tuned for that. But this is what it looks like on the inside. As you can see, this one, I think this is the first time she did these marble shimmers that they had to press in by hand to get all the different tones in them that they have. And I really liked this palette. It's definitely, again, my sort of color story. You know, it has the blue, the green, and the purple, so she took notice and knows what I like, so I appreciated her sending it over, especially one that I feel like she knew I would get a personal lot of use out of and be able to make lots of content with. So this is definitely in my top 5 for sure, because she's just absolutely stunning. And the other thing I like about this brand is you can pop shadows out and move them around. So I've made a palette where I popped the shadows out and changed them around to more of my liking. This is not one of them. That one is at my grandmother's house because I like to do videos comparing the stuff I made versus other stuff, but you know, you just don't. I think she only came out with 3 this year. Don't quote me. I'm sorry, 4. This is Cyborg-QM. I'm pretty sure this one came out this year. Let me show what it looks like on the inside. Again, this is another color story I love. This one kind of reminds me of, what is it, the Nomad one that came out this year. It might have been this year, I'm not sure. The Stargazing one. This definitely reminds me of the Nomad Stargazing. If you take like the 2 yellows away, I feel like they're giving really similar vibes. Shout out to my girl Dionluvsmakeup. She's the one who sent it to me where somebody had mentioned it, because I was so mesmerized by the pops of yellow, I didn't like really look into it that deeply. Although I had found other things in my collection that were similar, I didn't think about that particular palette. So shout out to Dion for sending me that post and letting me know what's up. I did do a video comparing these. I don't remember when I did it, but if you're interested, you can type in, I think it's Old School versus New School or Battle of the Palettes, and it should pop up. Again, another banger from them. Then we have the Legend of Adra. Adra. I always say it wrong, but this is what she looks like on the inside. So this kind of reminded me a little bit of the Rich Romantic from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. It gave me the vibes of that, but it had its own unique spin on it, if you will, because I feel like because it has like the pink in it and the peach on its own, I think I added the peach to that one, so I feel like that's what makes this one unique. But they do have like some similar tones as well. I like the fact that they're getting creative with their shimmers as well. I think it looks really cool. And then the last one I got from them prior to getting the holiday one that is in the other room that I'm not going to bring because I'm lazy and fat and can't be bothered. So sorry. I might bring it when I go to the next drawer. We'll see. But this is the Unity palette. So this is the last one I did prior to the holiday one. This came with a blush palette as well, and I really like the blush palette. Like, I really like the formula of their blushes. I think that was their first blush palette. Do not quote me, but I feel like it was the first blush palette they had. And I'm here for it. If they're going to make more blush palettes, I will gladly buy them. Wait, no, I think it's the second one because I think Amy Loves Makeups is the first one. That palette isn't here either because it's supposed to go in the video. So I have a couple more Adept palettes that should have been here that I could not have here because, you know, they're in the process of making other videos. But that was my Adept collection. Let's move on to the next drawer. Okay, so I brought the latest Adept palette with me. Again, you can use code Gelbeauty87 to purchase from them. And this is what it looks like on the inside. It's nice and stunning. Show you. I'm trying to see if I can show you the shifts in the shades. Yeah, so see how that one is blue right there, but it's pink. And that one looks brown, but it's pink. So I just wanted to show you some of the shifts too. And since this is the newest one, the one that you might be the most interested in, I wanted to make sure I showed that. I like the way the color stories are laid out too, because I feel like it's laid out in like little quads. So look at it, like these 4 are quad, these 4 are your Christmas quad, and then these 4 are your blue purple quad. So it's a nice little setup to look at as quads. Now me, I just jump all over palettes. I don't care. But if you're somebody who doesn't, I always try to make sure I show you. See? There's your Christmas quad right there. So just look at it. It's 4s of quads and call it a day. I appreciate when brands do that because a lot of people don't necessarily know what to do, and sometimes some people are new to makeup, so it's important that they do stuff like that so you can get an idea, and then later on you can become creative and decide what you want to do. I only have one palette from Luminous. I don't even think they make palettes. I know them for like the spray paint makeup, but they did it with Sir John, which is Beyonce's makeup artist, so of course I had to pick it up. We love Sir John here. I think he is a wonderful makeup artist, and he just seems like a really nice man, so I wanted to make sure I picked up and supported. I would die if he came out with a makeup brand like Makeup by Mario. Honey, I'm buying everything. I don't care. So if Sir John ever comes out with a makeup line, honey, I'm buying it all. I don't care. That would be awesome. But this was the only palette he had. I heard some people saying they felt like the formula of the mattes were dry. I didn't necessarily have that issue. I felt like it was fine. I like the fact he did a blue, green, purple moment. Y'all know that's what I live for, but he still gave plenty of neutrals for people who want to wear it every day, and you can just add a pop of color when you feel the need. So that was the purpose of this palette. I love a palette that has lots of different tones of browns in it for people who are like, you know, different tones of brown, because sometimes you don't want a deeper one, and sometimes you want one that matches you, and it just gave a good variety of colors overall, which I thought he did a great job with. Next, we have the Nude Pop from Kevyn Aucoin. I bought this because of the late great Mel Thompson talking about how wonderful it was. It's just a nice neutral mauve tone palette. What's happening with Kevyn Aucoin anyway? Because I've never seen anybody really, you know, talking about it anymore. People used to talk about the concealer that you could use as foundation in a little tub. People used to talk about the contour. Both those products are actually really nice, and this palette is really nice as well, but I just feel like, I don't know, it's like it fell off and went somewhere else. I don't know what happened, but I'm still keeping my palette because I love it. Lastly, as far as singles go, the rest of them are going to be like 2 or 3 palettes from each brand. This is Dose of Colors. For Incation, honey, I still have a backup of this in addition to this. So this is my backup one. My original one obviously has been used more. I leave it at my grandmother's house to show, but this is like my newer one. This is a palette this is one of them limited edition palettes I'm never letting go. I don't care what you're talking about. Like, Desi and Katie did all that. And I have been a Desi Perkins fan for like so long. When I first got on YouTube, she was one of the creators I found. I found her, Casey Holmes, what was it? Jackie Ina, and I think it was Laura Lee and Manny MUA. But, you know, out of all those people, like Desi and Casey were probably the ones that stood out for me the most. And of course, you know, Miss Jackie Ina. But we'll get to her palette in a moment, because, I mean, hello, who doesn't still have it? I got a backup of it. How about that? Next, I have this Too Faced collection. These are the only Too Faced palettes I own besides the Sweet Peach. And I'm never letting go to Sweet Peach, if you all didn't know. If you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button, by the way. But I told my followers know that my grandmother, that was the first piece of makeup she bought me. I started doing makeup because of her. So, like, the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette always has a special place in my heart, because for my birthday, she bought it for me because she was excited that I finally got into makeup. She had been trying to get me to wear it until I was 16. I didn't wear it until I think it was like 26 or 27. Anyway, this is the Sparkling Pineapple palette. And this is what it looks like on the inside. So it's just a nice neutral tone palette with a blue, brown, green like type pigment or whatever. This is what it looks like. Real cute. And these to me actually have a really good formula. So I was like, but I felt like just because people weren't feeling it and the price point, because these are kind of high. I think they were like $34 a piece, and I was like, I thought that was high. This should be Razzle Dazzle Berry. Yeah, it's Razzle Dazzle Berry eyeshadow palette. The crazy thing is, you can still smell the raspberry on this when you open it. This had like the strongest smell to it. And y'all know they got rid of this like a while ago, but I can still smell a strong smell to it. I wish they had just did a true black and not did this whole situation here. But, you know, to each his own. I don't complain. This was a purple palette that was a little disappointing, though. It's not as good as some other purple palettes I own, but it's not bad enough to the point where I would get rid of it. Plus, like I said, I like to have like Too Faced stuff just to be able to talk about the brand as a whole and have some idea of a formula of stuff. Unfortunately, it's not like a newer one, but it's better than having nothing, I figure. So plus, I do like these, and these are ones I would like take on vacation. And then if it was their time to go, there was just their time to go. Papaya Pop is the last one they came out with before they got rid of these entirely. And this is probably like my favorite color story besides the first one I showed you with the pineapples. Because, I mean, that shade right there alone is just gorgeous. But I feel like it gives a nice, unique color story. Because, like, without this yellow, it just looks like a normal, neutrally, like, berry palette. But, like, I don't know. The yellow just gives it extra oomph and fun to the look. And I'm here for it. So, those are the only Too Faced palettes I own. Let's move on to the Notorious Patrick Ta. So I have 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. The first one, I'm not too crazy about it, but I wanted to try his form and see what it was going to be like. Let's check for mold. Okay, as you can see, I was one of those people who's blessed who doesn't have a moldy one. So as you see, there's no of those white fuzzies in it that people were having that had the issue with mold. So So far, none of mine have had it. Let's check the other one because it's only the shimmers that seem to have it, not the matte. So the second one, I shouldn't have any issues with. Although I heard their blushes had that issue too. I know I sent Dionluvsmakeup one that she said she wanted for her birthday or for Christmas. I forgot which one it was. I think it was her birthday. And it ended up being fuzzy and she had to return it. So as you can see here, again, my shimmers do not have mold on them. So I was one of those people that was blessed that didn't get moldy ones. I don't know if it's the temperature and the way I keep mine or if it was just like certain batches and I was blessed to get a batch that doesn't. But as you see, there is no mold in either one of my Patrick Ta shimmery eyeshadows. And there's no mold in my holiday palette that has the eyeshadow in it either. So this is Major Dimensions 3, the matte one. And as you can see, nice and smooth. So everybody didn't have those issues. I was one of those people who didn't. I do feel bad for the people who do, though, because these palettes are, like, in the 70s, and then I got to worry about mold. It's like, no. No. On to the next one. So, I'm going to do the last one that has 3, and then the rest of them have, like, 5 or a whole lot. So, this is Cryotine. I hope I'm saying that right. Cosmetics. I like their palettes. I have used all 3 of these in a video. So, I used this one on my birthday. I think it's called Burnt Forest. This is what it looks like on the inside. I loved this palette. The shimmers in it were really nice. I made a really nice eye look. Shout out to my subscriber and my channel member who sent this to me. I just considered it a birthday present and I wore it on my birthday. Thank you so much to her. Because I was talking to her. I was talking in the video about how I wanted to get this one because I grabbed the other 2 new ones they had. But when I went to go grab the palette, they had ran out. So I just skipped out on it, and then she was so kind and sent me her. So I definitely cherish this one, and this is going to be added to the limited edition palettes, or just palettes I'm never letting go of. Next, we have the Atlantis palette. Y'all know why I bought this. I mean, look at it. Look at it. The blues in here just do something to me. Like this blue and this blue in particular are like my favorites in this palette. But this blue is nice as well. I like the fact that this transfers to a unique color, if you will. And I just love the tones in this as a whole. So if I had to pick between the 3 of them, it would probably be this one first. Just because blue has always been my first love when it comes to eyeshadow. I think my girl Karen Harris has a code with this brand. Do not quote me. You can type in Cage Makeup and see what happens. I don't know. But the last one I have, I think it's called Violet Crazy. Yeah, Violet Crazy. And I like this one too because it's a nice purple moment. I love this purple and this purple and this purple in particular. Like, I just love a good purple moment. But I don't know, it's just something about the blues in there I feel like shine more than the purples in here. So that's why I picked the blue one over the purple one. Because I was talking to Deandra Nicole on Instagram. She's like, but what about that purple palette though? Because y'all know she came out with the purple palette from Beaute Bar. So I wasn't surprised she picked it because purple truly is her favorite color. If her palette was all purple. But I'm like, I love blue, purple, and green. So the blue just did a little bit more for me, but it's still definitely a top 3. Like, it would probably be number 2, and then the Burn of Fire would be 3. So it'd be 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to me ranking these palettes. But I stacked them in the order that they came out with. So, okay, y'all, let's get on to the ones that I have more palettes from, or like more like 3 to 5. So I still have my original Subculture. I liked this palette. I know a lot of people felt it was difficult to work with, but I liked it just fine. I love the color story of it. I like that it's like really pigmented. I feel like they were trying to do a Melt Cosmetics moment, but they didn't tell anybody. They were switching over to the Melt Cosmetics formula to where, you know, like, it's really thick. The only thing is the Melt one was easy to blend. I feel like this one is a little bit more difficult to blend, but I mean, it's just like Melt. Once you get used to the shadows and learn how to use them, I feel like it would have been fine. But since they got such outrage, they just sent them to, they rechanged the formula, didn't say anything, and then sent it to TJ Maxx. I still think this is a great color story, and I thought it was very unique for them, considering they did a lot of, like, you know, those, what do you call them, red tone, or those warm tone type palettes. So I like the fact that they did like a cool tone thing and some cool grungy colors. So that's why I keep mine. Aside from the fact it's a piece of makeup history. Next, I have the Prism palette. I really like this palette as well. I just thought it was a fun, unique color story. And I do have palettes like this now in the future that I feel like have similar color stories to this. But again, to me, this is just like a classic ABH palette. And since I don't own that many ABH palettes, I feel like I should hold on to the ones I do actually like so I can have something to reference the brand by. Because I'm telling y'all, I really don't own anything from them. And if they, if anybody wants me to comment on them or talk about them, I feel like I should have something in my collection that isn't just like the Norvina line itself. And I haven't really bought any of the new ones. I had friends that bought me a couple of new ones, but I don't really use them that often. Next, we have this Norvina palette. I recently gave you all a video on this telling you why you don't need to buy the Glam Light and Willy Wonka palette. Because, I mean, look at them. this pretty much looks really similar to that palette. So if you already have this one, or if you have the Norvina 5, I believe that's the name of that huge purple palette she had, they're like the same tone. So it's like you don't need to repeat and buy it just because you like Willy Wonka. And if you do, wait till it goes on sale and they have like a good sale and then buy it. Like, don't buy a regular price if you already have these tones in your collection. If you want to add on later on, then that's fine. But I just try to encourage people not to buy stuff at full price. So since I already have this Norvina palette and the other Norvina, and I don't really buy from Glamlight anymore because of that scandal that they had with the influencer, and then they said they were gonna do certain things and fulfill certain obligations. I have yet to see anything. It's like, you're not getting none of my money since you can't, keep your word. Anyway, on to this next. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go watch the Glamlight Fresh Prince of Bel-Air video. I'll break it down in detail, and I'll give you a link to the video where I found out about the information regarding what I'm talking about. Anyway, on to, of course, Miss Jackie Aina's ABH palette. One of the all-time best ABH palettes ever created. You get a nice pink, purple, reddish moment on one side, and then you get the nice neutral blue-brown pigment, shimmer on the other side. I love it. I love it. I love it. Top 10 best palettes ever when it comes to collabs for me. And I do have a backup. Like I said, I'm not playing. There's a whole nother backup that is brand new that I do not touch, that I want to have in pristine condition to like put when I get a beauty room and do all that nice stuff. Next, we have the Amrezy and ABH palette. Now, I don't have the original Amrezy palette they came out with years ago. I only have this new one. I didn't get into makeup until like the year the Makeup by Mario eyeshadow palette came out, and they had already gotten rid of it, so I didn't get a chance to get my hands on it, which was fine, because it was just a neutral palette, and y'all know I'm not huge on neutrals. But this is what her palette looks like. I wish she hadn't put these two pressed glitters in here like Gemini and Lydia. I wish they had been something else. I know a lot of people like, what is it, Barb? My favorite shade has always been Cupcake. I know people like Barb because it's so sparkly and glittery, but I don't know. Cupcake has just always been my personal favorite shade, so to each his own. It's a nice palette overall. I think it's a nice color. I do still have the box for this one, though, just because it's really glittery, and I don't want the glitter to rub off and all that, so I'm going to put it in its box, and then we'll move on to Lethal, which is the last brand in this drawer, because, honey, I have quite a few Lethal palettes. I'm telling y'all, like, I have quite a few Lethal palettes, but Lethal is another one of my favorite brands, so only thing is they have palettes of all different shapes, and I hate when brands do that, because, like, then it makes it difficult to store, but it's like, I understand, like, they're going with a theme, and, you want to match all that or whatever. So I'm going to start off with the ones at the top, the smallest ones, which are the ones from Teresa's Dead and Lethal Cosmetics. So this is Lethal is Dead from Lethal Cosmetics and Teresa's Dead. I like the color story of this just because she did some unique vibes, if you will. The thing is, though, again, with their palettes, you can move them around. So I do like that about them, because if you find some pants that are the same size as this, like the old Adept ones might fit in here. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like they might be a little too big, but their very first ones they originally came out with singles would probably fit in here. So if you have some of those, it'd be nice to do. Or you can just order singles from the brand and put your own spin on and your own things in it. If you're interested in purchasing from them, I know Karen Harris has a code, so you can use code KH Makeup and pick up stuff from Lethal Cosmetics if you're interested. But I like the color story of this. I thought it was unique and fun, and so I had it. Plus, I like to watch Teresa's Dead. Like, I feel like she's like I feel like we're similar when it comes to our sense of humor, and hers is just appreciated more. But next, this is Teresa is Lethal. Another collab with Teresa is Dead and Lethal Cosmetics. That's interesting, because at first it says Lethal Cosmetics and Teresa's Dead, and this time it says Teresa's Dead and Lethal Cosmetics. Anyway, this is her second one. I think I like the color story of this one just a tad bit more, or maybe it's just because I feel like the shimmers in here look more sparkly and va-va-voom pow. Plus, I feel like in this one I have like a lot more deeper tones to use, or that I feel like I can come up with color combinations easier in this than the original one. I'm not sure, but I feel like they definitely pair nicely together. I'm pretty sure Teresa's Dead has a code with them too. If you want to use her code to purchase from her collabs, it should be code garbage. I feel like most of her codes are code garbage from what I remember. So, but I usually shout out Karen Harris, because she's the reason I found out about this brand called Lethal Cosmetics. She had did a video on it. Y'all know I love Karen Harris. That's why I always promote her codes, because I found out a lot of stuff from Karen. So y'all know how I am about paying it forward. So I found out about them from her. So this is the After Dark palette. This is what it looks like. It's a nice, cute little pastel moment. They send you the stickers, and then you just put them on there however you feel, because that's how I felt I wanted to put mine on there. So that's what I did. But I think it's a cute little color story. I don't feel like these are like pastels that make my skin tone ashy too. That was another thing I liked, because I saw it on Karen. And although I do have more melanin than Karen, at least Karen does have melanin. So I like to refer to her for a lot of videos too, because she's a person who gets PR and does have melanin. And I know I'll get, a better idea of if it'll work for me. Because if it worked for Karen, I have a little bit more hope that it'll work for me. But I really like this palette. It's great. This is Velvet Dusk, I'm quite sure. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, it gives a nice neutral moment, if you will. I feel like this would be another good alternative to the new Inslee Rain palette. Something about your eyes or something like that. I forgot the exact name of it. I feel like this would be a good alternative to it too, in addition to the one I did in the video, which was the Sigma Enchanted palette. I do have a code with Sigma if you're interested. It's just Gelbeauty. They took off the 87, but I did a video if you want to check out another why you don't need. It's the first why you don't need I've done in a long time, and I used the Enchanted palette, but I feel like this would have been a good alternative for it as well now that I think about it. Oopsies. Next, we have this palette. I feel like this is the Metamorphosis. And this is what it looks like on the inside. It gives me vibes of the High Temp palette from Unearthly Cosmetics without like the purple to it. It has like the green instead of purple, like these two green shades right here. But the rest of the tones in here look pretty similar. So if you don't care about necessarily having the purple and you already have this palette, I feel like that'll be a good alternative for you. So it's something to keep in mind. Lethal is one of my favorite brands. Hopefully one day in the future I could be on their PR list because I really do like a lot of their stuff. Next, this is the Evergreen palette. These were two holiday palettes that came out last year. I want to say these came out in 2023. They might have been 2022. But I really like the color story of this. Again, it's blue, green, purple. I feel like this would actually pair really nicely with that Adept inspired palette I showed you all earlier, because it gives you a few more mattes. Like you can have a purple matte, you can have a transition matte, and then you can have this bluish green matte, and then you can have another green matte, because you already have those two in there. But I feel like these four would just give a little extra accent to it. And then you could have these metallic sparkly ones and put the dual chrome or multi-chrome slick type shades from Adept on top, and that would be really cool. So just something to think about. If you have it, maybe that would be a good palette combination for you. The last one we have, now I'm trying to remember the name of this one. I'm pretty sure this is Wildflower. And this is what she looks like on the inside. Again, another great color story from them. I like the fact that you can look at it as like a 6-pan, because see, this is a 6-pan of blue and purples. And then this is more like a 6-pan of like pink and green, if you will. So I feel like, again, some palettes you can look at and just see certain patterns to it. Now, I wasn't checking all of them that I just showed you to see if all of them would be like that, but I remember the Wildflower one being like that, which is why I went on my way to talk about it. There is a palette missing here. I think there was a Lotus Flower one. It's a blue and purple one, but I'm comparing it to something else. That's why it's not here. So I am missing a Lethal palette here. Just FYI. This is the 1UP palette. I love this palette style when it came to shape, and I like the color story too. Again, this is one I feel like would pair really nicely with the Adept palette, because again, you get some darker blue, green, you do some darker blues, purples, and pinks to add to the shades in there, and you can put these little shimmery shadows on top of those, like the slick metallic wet looking eyeshadows that are in that palette. So this would be one that you could pair with it as well. I feel like would go really nicely. And then I ended up with the 2UP. Now, I don't remember if I did a video on the 2UP or not, but it reminded me of the Kaleidos, what is that palette called? The Escape Pod. It reminds me of the Escape Pod. And since I don't feel like they really come up with fun stuff like that anymore, and Lethal is more often coming out with that than they are, or you can just make your own palettes of Lethal to make them more fun, I feel like this would be a good alternative for you. I know this came in a set with the 1UP one that I just showed you if you're interested in both of them, but it just gives me the vibes of that one. So I'm like, since Kaleidos hadn't been really making anything recently, if I had to refer you to one, it would obviously be this one. That's just the influencer in me that has to like keep up with the newest stuff. So that's why I sometimes prefer certain things as opposed to other things. Anyway, let's get into the third drawer. Oh, y'all, this is going to take a long time. Okay, y'all, so now we're about to get into the drawer with ColourPop. So it should be the one with the most, and it's probably going to take the longest. So I might try to end it here. I might try to do one more drawer. We'll have to wait and see. But this is the Violet Voss and Care Bears. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if they're going out of business or what, but I haven't heard anything from them. I know they got pulled out of Sephora, and they used to be sold there. I thought this was a cute little palette. I blame Tina the Fancy Face for this purchase. It was not of my own, designing. She showed me this in the big one. I was like, it's cute. She did a look. I was like, okay, it's mine. Then they went 50% off on their website, and they had no choice. So we're blaming Tina the Fancy Face on this, and congratulations to her. I'm glad she came back, because y'all heard me in videos like, where's Tina? Y'all know I love Tina the Fancy Face. Her like pictures are up all throughout my makeup videos is ever since she got her Ulta collab, I have had pictures of her up all the time. I put her scarves on my wall. Like, I love Tina's Fancy Face. So I'm so glad she came back. And I can't wait to see what content she comes up with. Next, we have the Clothes palette. Now, we're doing all menagerie stuff now. So, shout out to them. They actually sent me this palette for free. So, I'm calling it PR. Because what happened was I ordered the Pause one you'll see in a second. The green one over there. Ooh, so the green one over there. I had ordered it and then just threw this one in as well. So shout out to them. Thank you so much. I actually ended up liking this one more than the one I ordered, which is the crazy part. Even though I feel like the color story doesn't look like all the way there, I came up with a really nice look. I think I did like this green right here. This was my transition shade, and I did like one of these pink shades on the lid. I think it might have been this one or this one, and one of them in the inner corner, and it looked stunning. So I'm so glad they sent it to me because I would never thought it would look that nice. Next, we have, of course, the Pause that I talked about. So this was the one I originally ordered. I bought it, of course, because I wanted to compare it to the one from Huda. If you all remember, the Huda Python palette looks really similar to this palette. So I wanted to see if you could get the same look. And of course, any brand's going to give you more sparkle, and they gave more color because there's only like this dark brown shade right there. Whereas the one from Huda, I feel like she gives you more like neutral, then you get color. So I liked this one a little bit better when it came to what it offered, but it's not like I don't like the Huda one. I just like this one a little bit better because I like more sparkling color and oomph and and I feel like mainstream luxury or high-end brands don't always do that. Next, we have Whale Song. My Whale Song is super old, so just keep that in mind. As you can see, my blue is broken a little bit. I used this recently in a why you don't need video because they actually have a newer version of this that came out. It's called Polar Ice, I believe it's called, and it has a similar color story to this. It's just a 9-pan like the ones I just showed you, Paws and Claws, as opposed to this one. But if I remember correctly, they were supposed to be discontinuing this, and now I see why, because you don't need two of the same palette. So I believe this one is gone, and that's the only one you have to choose from. But if you have this, you don't necessarily need to get that one. Just keep in mind, Menagerie shadows stain your eyes really bad. So if you're not prepared to put concealer on your eyelids the next day, if you don't want to wear eyeshadow the next day, then maybe don't. Because I'm telling you, these stain really bad. They stained my fingers for like a few hours, and all I did was swatch it for the video to show you what shades I used. Honey, they stain badly, but they are great quality. Next, we have the Serenity palette. This was a collab with Annette's Makeup Corner. I love this palette. I think it is so gorgeous. Again, one of my mattes accidentally cracked, but I feel like, again, this is one you can look at. Like, this is a 6-pan look right here, and this is a 6-pan look right here. So look at this one as a 6-pan. That's just what I got from when I first saw it. Or maybe you can even look at it like quads if you want to, depending on what type of eye look you want to do. This could be a nice little like quad right here with not using the last two at the bottom. Let me sit it down so you can see what I'm talking about. Like, see, that's the cute little quad as well. So I'm like, I feel like they'd be nice little quads, or just nice little 6-pans each for you to make eye looks, or you can just jump all over the palette and do whatever you want. Because I think Annette did like a 10 looks with one palette video on this palette to show you the variety that you could get from her palette, which I thought was nice. Now, I'm sure you can't get that one anymore because obviously it was limited edition, but it was a nice palette. This is the Indigo Ink palette. If you wanted a good alternative to Tina the Fancy Face's first collab with Ulta, I feel like this would be good for you. And I'm pretty sure they still make this palette, even though her palette isn't made anymore, but it has a lot of similar tones to it. I remember when it first came out, I did a look with Tina's palette. Then I turned around and did this look, and somebody was like, it looks like you have on her palette. And I was like, no, I'm using the Indigo Ink. And then once I looked at them side by side, I was like, yeah, I see what you mean. This is a good alternative. So if you didn't get a chance to pick up Tina the Fancy Faces palette, since you know they don't make it anymore, and you missed the mystery boxes where they added her and all the other creators' old palettes back in there from their first collabs, not their new ones, then I feel like this would be a good alternative for you. And Tina the Fancy Face does love Menagerie Cosmetics, if I remember correctly. I think they were Makeup Monster when I first found out about them, and that was like when they were transitioning to Menagerie, and they had already come out with a couple of palettes. It was the Pharaoh one and I think the Whale Song. Anyway, this is Sugar High from them. I do have one more from them. They're all purple one, but again, I have it at my grandmother's house to do some more content with, so that's why it's not here. But all their shadows are removable as well, so that's another thing I like. So they might fit into the Lethal Cosmetics palettes as well if you ever decide you want to get rid of those. So I like to keep palettes around. Ooh, y'all, I keep knocking down this tripod, but I like to keep palettes around that give me the same vibe, or I can move and adjust accordingly to what I need at the time. Now, these might actually fit into the ColourPop 12 pans that you're about to see in a second, or the big 9 pans. I don't know, we'll have to see, but I am definitely excited about this color story. I think it's really nice. I like the fact that I can switch it around if I want to and make it work for what I needed to work for. So either pan size they have, I always feel like I have something that I can use to switch it around and make it into more than one palette. So now we're gonna finally get into the color pop. And when I tell y'all there's so much color pop, honey, there's so much color pop. Like, it's absurd how much color pop there is. That's what's taking this video so long to get done. The fact that I have so many different palettes to choose from. But let's get into it. So I'm gonna start off with the big 9 pans. Y'all saw the small 9 pans. So let's see. We have the Boston Celtics. Now, keep in mind, I do recreate my ColourPop palettes. That's another reason I like to buy lots of ColourPop, because I can reorganize it to what I want it to be. So this one and this, I think all of these have actually been reorganized. So this is what my Boston one looks like on the inside. I made it into this. I took shades from different brands and from my singles collection to make it look like this. So don't ask, because I'm not exactly sure what came from where. It's been a while ago since I did this. So I honestly just don't remember. I'm not even gonna lie. I do not remember. I do know that I am a fan of this color story, though. I thought it was unique, and I thought it somewhat kept with the theme of the palette, minus the yellow, obviously, but, you know, they're known for, like, the green and the bronze, so I tried to make sure the majority of that was in there, so it'll be identifiable to me as a green palette, but not like the traditional green that they came out with. Next, we have the Dallas Mavericks. This is what it looks like on the inside. I didn't change too much of the stuff in here. I think I just added this shade and, like, I think this neutral shade here, because I don't think those were in there. But I feel like everything else was in here. Maybe not the silver, but the majority of everything else was in here. And I really like the way it turned out. I think it looks really nice. And they were like $5 a piece, so I couldn't, you know, resist for $5. Next, we have the Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic palette. It did look a little bit different, but I switched out some shades from an old palette, like that rodeo palette they had with the pinks, with the pops of pink and then a whole bunch of brown. I took the pinks out of there and put them in here because I didn't like the pinks that were in here. And I think I added this green, but I think everything else was in here. Do not quote me, but I feel like for sure I took 1, 2, and maybe 3, 4 and added them in here and made this look the way it does now, which I love 10 times better than the original palette, because the original palette I felt like it looked a little mauve and a little ashy, and it wasn't necessarily working out best for me, so I just made it work for me. Next, we have In the Limelight. This one came out, I think, 2022, maybe 2023. This is what she looks like on the inside. It had like a lot of green, and I think it had like one deep mauve-ish shade. So again, that same palette, I just added some shades in here. I might have took some of the Tinkerbell shades out of there and put it in here and just switched some stuff around as well. I don't exactly remember, but this is what she looks like. This is what we're working with. Absolutely stunning. 10 out of 10. Love it. Now we're going to get into the bigger palettes. I told y'all it's a whole bunch of color pop. So this is the Dream Street from Kathleen Lights and Color Pop. This is what it looks like on the inside. I love the color story of this. I thought it was a really nice color story. I love the pop of blue and red. And I think it was Mermaid Boy, and I'm pretty sure this one is Mermaid Boy, and I forgot the name of this one. But I liked this palette. I thought it was really nice in spite of it not being as colorful as I normally prefer. But sometimes I can deal with just the pops of color, especially if I like the creator. And I think Kathleen Lights is a decent creator. She hasn't been really creating that much, though. But I think she's come out with maybe 3 or 4 videos this year. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Next, we have the Lush Life palette. This was one of my favorite ones. It's got like the blue and green vibes going on with it, with still a few neutrals to give it, like, you know, a more everyday wearable approach with little pops of color here and there. So if you're going out after work, you can push the blue underneath your lower lash line and put one of the fun shimmers in the inner corner as opposed to champagne that was in your inner corner, and go out and have a good time. So I'm assuming that's what it was made for. I would have preferred a little bit more color, but, you know, it's colorful enough to where I'm satisfied. Next, we have Cabana Club. I like this one. I felt like it was a good alternative for another palette that I was looking at a while ago. I did a video on comparing this to another palette. I'm always doing dupe videos, so if you like content like that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But that's why I keep so many palettes around. That's why I usually have to do palette collections and not necessarily declutters like other people do, because if I declutter it and then I see something else that I need or something I could have done in the video, then I get mad with myself. Next, we have Sonic Bloom. They were giving away Cabana Club the year it came out because they had too many in stock. I think they gave away Sonic Bloom too. I bought both of these at Ulta, if I remember correctly, though. So I took one shade out of this palette to make it more my speed. I feel like I took the shade that was right here out and put this yellow in here, but this definitely gives me the vibe of another palette. Again, this seems like a more deeper fall appropriate version of the high temp palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. So if you have this, this is just like a fall grungy version of that palette, in my personal opinion. And you may not need to get that one if you have this one. Now, mind you, you're not going to have that pop of yellow, but if you have the same ColourPop palette I had and pop it out, you might be able to. Or if they still make singles like that, you might be able to get it in single form. Next, we have What Dreams Are Made Of from Lizzie McGuire. I loved Lizzie McGuire, so I was excited. I still want to get this sequence peachy shade out of here, so I have to find one to replace it with. But I'm pretty sure this was a glitter, or one of these was a glitter, and I took it out. This is the only shade that I need to take out of here. But otherwise, it's a great color story. I really like the palette. I think she's cute. And then we have the second Sailor Moon. Now, the first Sailor Moon is at my grandmother's house. Again, for another video, I have tons of eyeshadow palette video ideas. So if you like eyeshadow, hit subscribe and you'll definitely get your fill worth of eyeshadow content. I come up with a whole series dedicated to reusing stuff in your collection and getting an idea of different color stories, formulas, you know, depths and tone and stuff like that. But this is what mine looks like. I was thinking about switching out a shade or two just to see. I think I switched out one shade already because it was a glitter and I wasn't feeling it. But otherwise, I like this palette as a whole. And Sailor Moon was actually one of my favorite shows. So I was so excited when they came out with this collab. I did have to redo the first palette as well, though, because, honey, she was not giving at all. I don't know what she thought she was giving, but she was not giving anything that I wanted. It was a mess. Now, let's get into these. I told y'all, I'm ColourPop obsessed. I got way too much color. But, yeah. So, we have the Flirty Talk palette. I really wanted this one for a long time. I had convinced myself I didn't need it, but then it went on sale, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get it. And then I recreated it to make it look the way I wanted it to. So, I wanted more, like, then like pinks and reds, like Valentine's Day vibes. I wanted to add something unique, so that's why I decided I was going to add these blues to it, which I thought were really cute. And then I bought that BTS palette when it went on 50% off sale, and then I added this shade in there from there, if I remember correctly. So this one, and this one, I believe, are from the BTS palette, and I just took whatever shades were in that I didn't like to make this color story, and I definitely think it's unique, and I've had you all compliment on it, so I'm glad you like it too, because I, you know, be out here trying to experiment and make my own color stories, because I feel like it's fun. It's like you have your own collab palette by, you know, making these color stories up yourself. Next we have Limoncello. I did switch this one around as well. I didn't need to take too much out of here, though. I just didn't like the fact there was a whole bunch of neutrals, and I wanted a different tone of green, so as you can see, I put a different tone of green here. And I kept a good majority of the neutrals because I just wanted to have green or blue. So it's like, I felt like there was green in the palette. As you can see, there's green here and there was green on the front, but there was like nothing really green in here. I think it was like a sequin shadow green perhaps that was in here, and I wasn't feeling that. And there was like a whole bunch of neutrals with like this pop of blue. Or it might have just been a green shimmer and nothing else. I don't exactly remember. I think this palette is at least 2 years old, so I don't exactly remember, but I knew I was going to switch it around and make it be my own, so I did what I did best and did that. So this is the Valentine's Day palette, I want to say from 2023, do not quote me, it's called Lost in Love. Again, I found it on a discount and I ended up picking it up. The only thing missing in this one for me, honestly, was a pop of purple, because it had the oranges and the corally type shade and the red and the pinks, because again, it's supposed to be Valentine's Day, but I always just want a little bit of grunge or a little bit extra, something that I feel like is a little bit unique. So I feel like I took this shade and added them in, and I believe the rest of them were in here. Do not quote me, but I like it okay. I'm not in love with it. Like, I could possibly see myself getting rid of it in the future, but when I create stuff, it's hard for me to let go of it, so I usually do not. Then we have Plush Like Me. I wanted some shades that were in this palette to put in another palette, so that's how I ended up buying it. Plus, I think it was like $5, so I ended up doing this. Now, this is a special shadow that is from another brand. I literally just pressed it into the pan because it was a huge single. I want to say it was Clarity Cosmetics or Give Me Glow Cosmetics when I used to buy from Give Me Glow, and I just pressed it down here to put it in this palette because I wanted to have like a unique tone. So I got like my blue purple side, and then I got like my more grungy dark burgundy and pink side. So that was the idea behind this palette. I have done this palette before, so this was actually, I think, my second time redoing it to make it into what it is now, but I thoroughly enjoyed the way it looks, and I'm happy with the way I made it. Next is on the list. This was one that they had at Ulta, and then I think they brought it to their website later, or they might have just left it at Ulta. It was only $5 when I bought it, so that's why I went ahead and bought it, because I was like, I had an idea in mind for it, and this was the idea I had in mind for it. So I wanted to have like a cool tone, blue, grayish, green type vibe, and then I wanted to have fun, like summery type side to the palette, and I think I did an okay job with it. I don't know how many of the original shadows that were in this palette are actually left in here, but you know, I think she's cute. You can tell me which one was your favorite down below after all the custom ones I've done, because I think every single one that I'm showing you from ColourPop just about has been a custom design. Next, we have this one. I don't know who Mariella is. I know she had a collab with Too Faced as well back in the day. But this is what it looks like. I just felt like it was, I mean, I liked the color story just fine. Like, it was great on its own. But me being me and recreating ColourPop palettes, it was in my blood to just do it. So I pressed this in. This is, again, a single shadow from one of those huge pans that I put in here. I wanted to have a little bit of neutral moment to add with all the darkness and all the tones I had going on. So that's why I did this. I'm not sure about the mint shade, if it's going to stay or not. We'll have to wait and see. I'm thinking about taking this one out though and just putting it blue so I can have a blue mint purple moment if I want to, but I figured the mint and purple, and blue shimmers would suffice enough, so that's why I left it this way for now. But this is, I think, the second time I've redone this, so don't be surprised if you see a third time of it being redone, just because I don't know. With this one, it's like I'm content, but it's like I want to be happy and not feel like I need to touch it again, and I'm not at that point with this one yet, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. We have ColourPop and the Powerpuff Girls. I loved watching the Powerpuff Girls as a kid, so I'm not surprised that I have this palette. Honestly, with this one, I just took out the what do you call it shade? The pressed glitters. I took the pressed glitters out of here. I think there was a blue pressed glitter for Bubbles. Then I feel like there was a pink pressed glitter for Blossom, so I took those out and put in here what you see now, which I'm content and fine with. In the future, I could see myself possibly changing out this one because I want to kind of put this one up here and then maybe get like a nice bright pink shimmer. So in the future, I might change this one, but I'm content with it for right now, and it works for me the way it is right now. Next, we have Snow White. I remember when this palette came out, I really liked the color story, but I didn't want to pay full price for it. Then I ended up catching it on sale, and that's when I bought it. So I changed a couple of things around here. I feel like I added this shade. It might have already been here, don't quote me, but I know for sure this is the shade that stands out and makes this palette like fun to me, because I kept a lot of the stuff the same. This is a single shadow from Copacetic Cosmetics. I think it's called Chicago River or Chicago Fall Leaves or something like that. I really like it though. I thought it was really cute, and so I added it to this palette to give it a little extra oomph, because you know she has the green apple that she eats that the lady dips in poisonous red. So this is the red for the apple, and then this is like the green little evil face that goes over the apple in the movie. So I thought that was unique and made this more of my vibe. Then we have Beauty and the Beast. This is the last fairy tale one I bought, and this is what she looks like. Again, this is a shade from Clarity Cosmetics. It came out of one of their palettes. I bought the smaller version of the palette so I could use the big one as the singles. When she had, like, I think you could get a palette for free vibes, it was that one. So I went ahead and got it. Then I added this yellow from another palette. I want to get rid of this blue because it has a lot of shimmer to it, but otherwise I like the palette just fine. So if you see me add a deeper navy that doesn't have shimmer in it, that'll be the only thing I change about this. Otherwise, I think it's perfect. I like the fact that this one shifts a whole bunch of different tones to give uniqueness to the neutralness going on in here. Then you still got a blue, you still got a yellow. This transitions to a yellowish green shade, which I thought was cool. And then, of course, you need a traditional shade in cases of emergency. So I like that one. We're almost done with ColourPop. I know, right? So I have the Star Wars one. This is one of the few ones I did not change. So as you can see, it looks exactly the way it did when I first got it. I love it. I think it looks great. And it's perfect for someone who wants a warm and cool tone combination palette, because it's like you got your warm tone side right here, you got your cool tone side right here, and then you got some simple neutrals down the middle. If anything, I would take out this shade right here, but since I have so many other options to choose from, I have this black, I have this dark red, and I have this dark blue. Y'all know I don't really use brown that often, so that's why I just let it stay, because that's literally the only thing I would change about this palette. And it's rare with the ColourPop palette, there's not something I want to change, but I did not. This Naruto, I've never watched this show. My son told me about it. He's watched it. He's one of those kids that likes anime. But I bought it because, again, it has singles that I could switch around and change. Now, this color story, I don't know if I'm content and going to let it stay the way it is. But I thought it looked pretty cool. Again, it kind of gives vibes of another one I showed you all earlier, where I just did like a cool tone moment, a warm tone moment, and then nice shimmers in the middle that I feel like would go with both sides of the palette. So this one, I could see myself just breaking it down eventually in the future and just using to recreate other palettes. But for right now, I figured I'd show it to you in the form of a palette that it is. We got 3 more ColourPop palettes, and I think I might end it here, even though I have like one more drawer to go through. We'll see how quickly I can get through it. Last time y'all told me my video was acting up because after a certain point, so that's why I'm like, maybe I should not try to film it so long. So that's why I'm thinking I might skip on that last drawer. We'll see. Anyway, we have the Perception palette from Makeup by Shayla. in ColourPop. I loved this palette when it first came out. I had like 2 or 3 of them just because I liked it that much. One of them I gave my cousin. I think, yeah, I gave one to one set of cousins, and I gave another one to another cousin. So that's how I only have one left, because I had like 3 of this palette because I thought the color story was so nice. I don't like the fact that this like blue shimmer is in the black shade, because I'm like, I didn't like the nice dark outer V shade without shimmer in it. But otherwise, that's the only thing I have to complain about this palette. I like the tone she picked as far as for transition shades. I'm not really a huge fan of orange, but I feel like it works with the shimmers that she chose, so that worked out nicely. And again, I don't like the fact that all the other deeper tone shades that aren't like brown have shimmer in them. So that was my only complaint with this palette. Otherwise, it was fine. It's great. And as you can see, I still have it because I love it. Then I have Through My Eyes from I Love Sada E in ColourPop. I did have her original like 5-pan when they just did singles, but I ended up getting rid of that. I foolishly dug into my green by accident. It was not on purpose. I like the color story of this. I know I compared this palette to something that had come out recently, I think last year or this year. So I have this, so I didn't feel like I needed that. Or I might have still gotten it. I don't know. I know I probably did a why you don't need and use this in it. But I like it still, so I will hold on to it. The last one I have is Lust for Dust. I did redo this one just because the color story was kind of ashy and kind of dull, and I wasn't necessarily feeling it. But, you know, I recreated it to make it look like this, and I like it a whole lot better this way. I don't know what happened to this shadow, why it has that scratch in it, but I might have put some eyeshadow primer in it by accident. But I like the color story of this a whole lot. Now, the arrangement of it, I'm a little iffy about, but you know, I'm gonna just leave it like that. And it does have all the colors that I need, and I can still get some ideas just by looking at it the way it is. So I feel like it'll work for me that way, and that's fine. So let me go to this next drawer and see how quick we can get through it. Okay, y'all, so on to the just random palettes I have, and I only have like 3 or 4 that have more than like 3 or 4 palettes, so this shouldn't take long. This is my Wicked Widow Beauty Graveyard Smash palette. That's what it looks like on the inside. I like the color story. I'm not like crazy insane. Hello, crazy or insane about it. It's a nice color story. They have nice formula of products, so I went ahead and picked it up. That was my first time trying it out, along with a couple more palettes, but that's the only one of this size that's here, I believe. Then we have the Element of Evils. This is Sugar Drizzle and Doodles by the Bunny Halloween palette. This is the color story. I don't know what's going on with them. I feel like I hear about them now and then, but I don't hear about them or being raved about nearly as much as I used to. I do like the color story of this palette, though. I think it's really nice. I love Doodles by the Bunny, so I was going to have to support, so I made sure I picked that up. I can't wait till her Astro brand comes out, because she talked about having one, so we'll have to wait and see. Next we have the Deep Sea Treasures. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, Deep Sea Treasures. This is a Clean palette. I have some more, but the bigger one's in the drawer, and we haven't got to that drawer yet, so you're just seeing what's in the drawers as they come. They've actually posted me on their Instagram and their Facebook a couple of times with eye looks from their brand. I think the last time they reached out to me was like a couple of weeks ago to use it, but I think they're using the newer palettes that I bought recently to the eye look with. I think they're doing those. Don't quote me. You can go check that out on their IG though. I know Karen has a code with Gelbeauty Cosmetics. I do not, but it should be code Cage Makeup. You can get a discount. This is the Emily Violet Marie. Now, I have the original packaging, the acrylic one that keeps falling apart that everybody has issues with. Like you can see, mine is completely coming loose and it's cracking up the front. So they changed it over to cardboard, so that way this wouldn't be an issue, because after a while with wear and tear, I guess it was happening for everybody. But I like the fact that they adjusted the problem because they knew that it was a problem. So I love the shade Bubbles. It's amazing. That's probably my favorite shade out of this palette in general. The other ones are nice. They're made to where you can use the shimmers to make a whole like eye look, if you will. I'm not one who's big on doing that. I did it for the video to show you that you could, but like when I use this, I usually use it in conjunction with like editorial brights or something like that. Next we have the Deveroon Cosmetics palette. This is from I forgot the name of the creator. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it is a creator on IG. She doesn't have a YouTube channel. I think it's M. Jones, if I remember correctly. This is the Moth on the Moon. This is the first palette she came out with. I thought it was a nice color story. It reminds me of another palette, though, and I did compare it to another palette. I've done so many Why You Don't Need videos. That's why I told you, if you like eyeshadow content, you should definitely subscribe, because I do a ton of eyeshadow palette content. But this is what it looks like. I've only used it, I think, once when I did a 3 looks, 3 palettes. But it's stunning. And then she has the Gloomy Gardens. She does have an all shimmer palette. I think it's called Bubbles or something like that. I want to get my hands on, so I'll probably get that in the future. This is similar to another color store I already have as well, and I did a video comparing them. I think the only difference was there was like this gray in this one, whereas in the other palette it does not have that. So it's been compared to a couple of other things in my collection. The quality is amazing though. She has really nice matte. She has those really nice Adept like wet foily like shimmer shades, which I am here for. Ooh, I don't know how we got off angle here, my bad. But now we're gonna get into a brand that I feel like, I don't know if they went out of business or what happened, but this is Shoutout Cosmetics. So I have like 4 or 5 palettes from Shoutout. My freaking bats isn't here because I'm supposed to be doing a collab with my bestie Dionluvsmakeup. So hopefully that'll be coming soon. I need to tell her when I can actually do it because she's the one to be on top of it and I'll be late. As you can see, these shadows break on me often. I don't know why. As you can see, that one is kind of breaking off, and it's like this is like one of my all-time favorite palettes from the brand. So it made me kind of sad, and I obviously can't order another one because they don't know what's going on over there. No one is really saying anything about this brand, so I'm not sure, but I love the color story of this, and I feel like it would pair really nicely with the Fantasy Cosmetica, I forgot the name of it. I think it was Warlock palette that came out that had the really colorful tones to it that are jewel tone like that. I think it'll go nicely with that. Next, we have Halloween. Y'all know Betty Bean loves Halloween, so I'm not surprised she came out with a Halloween themed palette again. I was surprised and actually like this one a little bit better than its freaking bats now, just because I feel like, you know, I don't know, I feel like I can do a little bit more with this one than its freaking bats. Not that I can't do plenty with its freaking bats, but I don't know, I just like this one a little bit better. So I've actually been reaching for this one more than its freaking bats. Next is Creepy Cute 2. Now, I added shimmers to this one because these are all matte palettes. So I added this tone right here. I think I pressed it into a pan and put it in there. Or I already had a single of it. Do not quote me. I'm not 100% sure. Then I added this one in. I don't think I added any of the mattes. I think they were already there. And I just added shimmers. Do not quote me. But I really like the way it turned out. I like the fact that it has a couple shimmers now to go with the mattes in there. So, like, obviously, this shimmer will go with this row. And then this shimmer will go with this row. And you can make 2 nice little eye looks. So that was my thing. This is probably like another one of my all-time favorite palettes from them. Well, this is Peaches and Dreams. This is what she looks like on the inside. I love the color story in here. Now, I feel like just looking at it, you don't necessarily automatically get looks like you can with other palettes. I feel like she makes it a little bit more difficult for you to come up with looks and ideas if you're an everyday consumer. But I've made looks when I really like the looks I came up with. And I really like the color story because I think it's unique to any other things in my collection. So that's my main reason for liking it. Now let's get into Clarity Cosmetics. I don't have that much Clarity Cosmetics. I don't know, they tend to have different shapes of palettes and stuff, and I don't know, a lot of the color stories aren't necessarily appeasing to me, but when they are, I feel like they're great color stories and great quality products. So this is the Evil Mermaid. I thought it was a unique blue tone palette for me. It kind of gives me like a deeper, grungier version of the High Tide palette from ColourPop. So I thought it'd be unique and I could try them side by side or just pair them together and make a nice little look. So that's how I ended up picking up this one. Plus it was a smaller one to give me an idea of the quality, and hopefully the quality will be consistent. And from what I've seen, it has. The only one I didn't like from them was the Bloom palette, so I ended up setting it on Macari. I have the Apocalypse. I have this in a full size and a small size, and then I have Lillian small size and a full size, because remember I told you they were doing it where they would like get rid of palettes and let you get it for free, and all you had to do was pay shipping. So that's when I decided to pick up a smaller version of this one. I do like that they came up with smaller ones because sometimes pans are a little too big. I know previously I said I like the bigger ones, but I don't feel like the Adept ones are big compared to like the way the Clarity and Give Me Glow palettes used to be. So I really like that, and I really like this color story. I thought it was unique, and I like the fact that they came out with a Halloween palette. I feel like Halloween makeup is becoming more and more popular when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, but in the past I feel like it wasn't, and they were like kind of on the verge of being one of those brands that did it a lot more. Next we have the Lily palette. I love the color story of this palette. I thought it was really unique. I like the nice mint tones to go with the oranges and the purples. I feel like you don't see that often, but I thought it looked cute. Matter of fact, I think this is the palette I compared to the Gloomy Gardens one because they have a similar color story. Except the Gloomy Gardens has gray and that one doesn't. And I think Gloomy Garden has blue and that one doesn't either. This is my Komodo palette. One of my shades is smashed, as you can see. It's glitter everywhere. What happened was the owner said that they didn't get their plastic things in, so that way it wouldn't smear everywhere. So now mine is just everywhere, and every time I have to smash it back in. But I like the palette as a whole. It's a good alternative to another palette. I did videos comparing this and the Anaconda one to other palettes in my collection that I already have. So if you didn't want to necessarily pick them up, you could see the alternatives. I'm telling y'all, like, I do so much eyeshadow palette content. That's why my eyeshadow palette collection videos are so long, because I have so many eyeshadow palettes to show you. So next we have the Anaconda palette from Clarity. This is what it looks like on the inside. To me, this is just like a more colorful, fun version of the what is it, Mercury retrograde from Huda that I showed you all earlier. So I compared this to that one, like I think it was last Christmas, or it might have been the Christmas before that, either Christmas of 22 or 23, but I compared this to that one just to see how similar a look we could get, because I felt like it was very similar. It was a more fun, colorful version of that. Now, we went over Glaminatrix earlier, but like I told y'all, all these brands have different size palettes, so I have to, you know, do these in spaces that I can fit them in to make everything work. So this is the first palette I ever bought from them, Silent Night. This is what it looks like on the inside. Funny thing is, when I first got this palette, it was one of these two shades I was missing. I feel like it was this shade Tinsel I was missing that wasn't put into my palette when they were assembling it. I was so nice. I reached out to the brand and told them. I didn't try to make a scene out. I didn't try to make them feel bad or whatever. I didn't even make a video on it until it showed up. I just wanted to see what they were going to do. They would overnighted me like the eyeshadow that was supposed to be in the palette, and then they sent me a bonus single shadow that I put in another palette to make on one of my custom ColourPop palettes. So I really appreciated that. So I'd say they have excellent customer service when it comes to that. Or maybe they just knew I was an influencer. I don't know, because I didn't use my influencer account, so it wasn't like, you know, I assumed they knew who I was. But yeah, this is the first thing that got me to buy from them. Then I wanted to get their U palette. I initially wanted to get their U palette when they first came out with it, but I was like, I don't know, because, you know, it might not be that great, and they're in Sydney, Australia, and, you know, it costs an arm and a leg to ship here, so I was, like, a little apprehensive. I know my girl, Dr. Ash, and her makeup had picked this up initially, and she talked about how great the quality was, which is why I went ahead and bought the Silent Night palette. So shout out to Dr. Ash, because she was right. The formula is bomb. It's amazing. It's really nice. So I ended up getting it when they relaunched it. The only thing is, I think they changed the shade in here, or they might have changed the shade in here after I bought mine. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was the shade G'day, but it still has a great color story. It still is a phenomenal formula, and it still is a very nice product that I'm happy to have in my collection. Now let's get into these. So Nocturnal is probably one of my all-time favorite palettes from them. It's this one, and then Into the Night that you'll see in a moment. But the color story on this is just unmatched. And again, they're one of those brands that I talked about before. Like, see, you got a quad right there, got a quad right there, and you got a quad over there on the end. So it's like they're one of those brands where, like, you can look at the palette and you can come up with like a quick foreshadow eye look. And I love when brands do that, because it's like you might be in a rush and you still want to put on some makeup and look nice. You can look to this quad, follow each color, and make the look work for you. So plus, it's just a great color story overall. I will say they constantly change their packaging a lot, though, which is kind of annoying, but you know, like, I just adjust because I do have a great formula. So this is the Glamorous palette. This is what it looks like on the inside. Again, 4-pan, 4-pan, 4-pan. So just always, when it comes to Glaminatrix, look at them as like 4-pan palettes or 4-pan quads, and you have 3 quads that they just put in a palette to give you a simple, cute, and quick eye look. That's how I look at them. This one I wasn't necessarily crazy about when I first tried. I have grown to like it more, but a Nocturnal and this one here, Into the Night, were just automatic loves for me when I looked at them. To me, this is just a fun version of the Pat McGrath Mothership 3 palette. We haven't looked at it yet, but see what I'm saying? It has a lot of similar tones to that palette, but you get like this fun pop here, and then you get this fun pop of pink and this fun blue, which are similar to the ones in the Pat McGrath palette. I know she doesn't have the silver or this fun shade right here, but she does have quite a few similar tones in it. This is just a fun version of that palette. So if you wanted a fun version of a palette, I feel like this would definitely be the one for you. And then lastly, we have this Glaminatrix Cosmetics Pretty in Pastels palette. I only have one more brand to show, and then we'll be done with this episode, I swear. But yeah, this is kind of just like their version of a rainbow palette, but not like a traditional rainbow palette, which I appreciate. Plus, I appreciate the fact that they put like a dark matte in there for you to put on your outer V, because a lot of people like dark mattes, and I feel like when you make more mid-tone palettes that are supposed to be pastel and stuff like that gets lost, and then I don't have like an outer V shade and I have to dip into another palette, which isn't necessarily a tiebreaker for some people or necessarily myself. It's just more, it's appreciated when you already have it in there, so I don't have to put forth the extra work to go into another palette, you know, because I might just want to sit down and play with one palette and that's it. So I appreciate them doing a pastel palette, but doing a unique spin on it to where people who like outer V shades had something to use. Okay, the last one I have is Unearthly Cosmetics. I think this is the only Unearthly Cosmetics stuff I have. I might have a little bit more in my other drawers. I have to wait and see. But again, they're another brand that makes a lot of different shaped palettes. So this is in the dark. I didn't initially buy this when it came out. I bought it when they re-released it. So my color might be different from the one you have at home, because I bought the newer one where she changed the color story. So just something to keep in mind. But this is what she looks like. I mean, it's a simple, you know, dark grungy palette. It kind of reminds me of that Gargoyle palette that she came out with later on in the year. This year, I'm not sure, but this one came out, I think, I want to say 2022. So this is an older holiday palette that just got re-released later on. Then we have the infamous Halloween collection. The third one I don't have here, which is the Weirdos. That's the one that has the dry shadow in it. I have to take the one dry shadow I have in out and like replace it with another one. So that's why I haven't done it yet, because I'm just like not necessarily in the mood to be recreating and doing that type of recreation with eyeshadow palettes. But this is 1964, which is part of that four of eyeshadow palette collection. I only bought 3 of the 4, so this is what it looks like on the inside. I didn't take any shades out and switch this, but again, this is one of those you can just look at. Like 6 pan, you got the neutral moment, and then 6 pan, you got the like crazy, more unique tone color. I would have preferred to have something instead of white, but it's like, I understand some people like to put white underneath their brow bone, and you gave them a brow bone shade with that, or just pat it all over the lid and make a nice little smoky eye with this tone, and maybe one of these sparkles in the inner corner for a fun moment. So I get why it's there. It's just I would prefer not to have it, but you know, since you can pop the shades out of their palettes, I can just pop it out and replace it with something else, which is why I didn't trip over it too much, because at least it didn't hard pan. Next, we have the So Strange palette. This is the one I thought I was just going to be okay with, but this is probably like my favorite out of all of them. I just like the uniqueness of this color story. Again, you can have like an AKA moment with this side, or you can do more of like a warm sunsetty eye with this side. So it's just nice to when brands do stuff like that for new consumers who aren't sure exactly what to do. Or it might just be that the way that they do their eyeshadow when they look at it, because the owner of this brand does have her own YouTube channel, her own, like, you know, she's a content creator. So that might be why she did it that way as well, because that's the way she does her makeup. I'm not sure. Next, we have the Fall Magic. This is when the brand was Alien Cosmetics. They are now Unearthly Cosmetics. Karen does have a code with them. It is code KH Makeup, and you can get a discount on your purchase. I think she has a code with Clarity Cosmetics as well that you can get a discount with. I'm not sure. I'll try to link what I can, hopefully, this time. But this is the original Fall Magic. There is a new Fall Magic, so if you wanted a Fall Magic, I did a video comparing the old one to the new one to see what kind of tones you could get, and then I compared Fall Magic to some other palettes that are already in my collection that had a similar color story. So I compare tons of things, but this is what this one looks like. Okay, y'all, we got the last 2 palettes now. So this is the Witching Hour. This is probably one of my favorite ones from them. I love this color story with the green, the orange, and the pink. However, if you have the Hocus Pocus 2 palette from ColourPop, the third one, it gives a similar vibe to this, and you don't necessarily need this one. Plus, you can't get this one anymore because they don't make it anymore, but I thought it was really nice, and that's why I held on to mine. Great color story, great formula, one of my favorites. Last one I have is this, what is this, the Sleepover palette. I love a good mauve moment, so this one I definitely love. If I could switch out this shade and just give it a black, then it would be perfect for me. But that is it for this drawer in this episode. I have to go pick my son up from school, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. Make sure you subscribe if you love eyeshadow content, because I'll have another video coming up next week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye. One doesn't have to stop here. Let's be friends over on Instagram to check out the latest fashion, fragrance, palette comparisons, and a glimpse into my everyday life. Make sure you follow me over on Instagram. I try to post some of the shorts on Instagram before I post them on YouTube, so you might get some content ahead of time. So make sure you follow me over there. Hope you have a great day.